Okay, so today we're going to talk about percent by mass. Throughout this unit, we're going to be talking about different ways to figure out the concentration of a solution. So concentration telling us how much of the solution is going to be our solute compared to the amount of actual solvent that we have. And so percent by mass does just this. The formula for percent by mass is similar to any percent formula that we've done. It's part over whole times 100. In this case, our part is the mass of the solute divided by the mass of the solution times 100. Please keep in mind that a solution is the solute and the solvent. A lot of students have trouble with this because instead of adding these two together, they just take into account the solvent and forget to add the two together. So just being conscious of this will help you minimize that error. The most common solvent is going to be water. Water is known as a universal solvent. It can dissolve most substances, not all, but most. So let's go ahead and look at two different types of practice problems that you can see. Here is the first one. A solution is made by dissolving 25.0 grams of aluminum chloride in 140.0 grams of water. What is the percent by mass of aluminum chloride? So here, if we look at our formula, we have the mass of the solute over the mass of the solution times 100. So your first step for these types of problems is going to be to figure out what is your solute and what is your solvent, so we can figure out what our solution is. Okay, so our solute. We dissolved 25.0 grams of aluminum chloride, so that's going to be our solute. Into 140 grams of water. So then our solvent is going to be 140.0 grams of water. So then if we think about our solution, if our solution is our solute plus our solvent, it's going to be aluminum chloride and water. So we can add those two numbers together to figure out the mass of our solution. So 25 plus 140 comes out to 165.0 grams of aluminum chloride and water. Okay, so now we know each of our parts of this problem, and now we can plug it into our equation. So here we know that we're looking for our percent, and the first part of the formula is the mass of the solute. So the mass of our solute is 25.0 grams, and the mass of our solution, that is the very last number that we came up with, so that was 165.0 grams, and then that's times 100. So I'm going to do 25 divided by 165 times 100. Now, if we're thinking about significant figures, we have 3 sig figs from our solute, but 4 from our solution, so 3 is the least number, so that's what our answer has to be to. When I plug it into my calculator, I get 15.15, so rounding that to 3 sig figs, I would get 15.2, and since this is a percent, our units is a percent sign. So that's the first type of problem you can see. Let's look at a different one. Here it says a solution is 9.3% sugar. What mass of sugar is in 326 grams of the solution? So if we go back to our equation, we have percent is equal to mass of solute over mass of solution times 100. So this time, instead of solving for percent, they gave us the percent. So we're looking for the mass of the sugar. So let's plug it into our equation and figure out how we can solve it. So we have 9.3% is equal to the mass of the sugar, so that's our X on top, divided by the mass of the solution, which they gave us, 326 grams, and then times 100. So the easiest way to solve this, at least in my opinion, is to divide both sides by 100. Get rid of this loner over here. So 9.3 divided by 100 is 0.093. and that is equal to x over 326 grams. Now, in order to get x by itself, we want to multiply both sides by 326. So we get x is equal to 0.093 times 326. Now, this is in grams because it is our solvent, but we have to keep in mind significant figures. Here we have 2 significant figures. Here we have 3 significant figures, so our answer has to have 2 sig figs. So the 3 and the 0 are our 2 sig figs, but so we have to go ahead and do that. If we were to just leave it like this, though, it would only be 1 sig fig. So if we add a decimal point at the end, we can get our 2 significant figures, and then this is grams of sugar.